So here we are doing a new HBH podcast. I just got back from seeing In a Violent Nature, and I thought this would be the perfect movie to talk about for the 20th episode of HBH podcast. I'm still trying to process, and I just realized that I didn't have that turned off. Don't you just hate when your notifications go off? Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, just got back from In a Violent Nature, still trying to process the movie. I don't 100% know how I feel about it. But before we get into this movie, let's just sit back and wait, what? Let's just sit back and realize that there are now 20 episodes of HBH podcast. That is crazy. I know I haven't done one in like 4 months. The last one I did was about the Halloween Flash site. If you guys have not heard that episode, I will leave a link in the description because it was a really good episode. And I was joined with Horror Man 93. Very fun episode. But yeah, 20 episodes of HBH podcast. That is crazy. So yeah, In a Violent Nature. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I feel like I'm in the middle. I am going to change my rating system, by the way. I'm going to rate every movie now out of 5 skulls. So I think as of right now, I would give In a Violent Nature 3.5 out of 5 skulls. Because this movie is very difficult to process for me. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen. It's very Friday the 13th inspired. I think we knew that going into it, though. Everyone's seen the trailer, and it just very much felt like Friday the 13th. And it is. It is very Friday the 13th inspired, which is a good thing. I mean, Friday the 13th as a franchise is very inspirational, so I don't think that's a bad thing at all. So yeah, I mean, we got that, which was good. And let's talk about the killer. The killer's name in this was Johnny, I believe. Not a lot of backstory to Johnny. Basically, well, I should probably say this first because I'm just all over the place right now. Sorry about that. If you guys haven't seen In a Violent Nature, I'm going to keep this spoiler free. I am going to mention some things from the movie. So if you guys don't want to know anything about In a Violent Nature, then you probably shouldn't play this podcast yet. You should watch the movie and then come back and play the podcast. But, so yeah, about Johnny. Basically, there was some sort of incident in a firehouse where I don't really remember what they said. I don't know I think Johnny was like pushed off of this firehouse and ended up dying, but they set it up to make it look like that Johnny was playing around in the firehouse or whatever and just fell off of it or whatever it was. I'm still trying to process this movie, but it's interesting. Johnny as a killer was cool. He's buried where the firehouse was, and what's keeping him in the ground or keeping him dead or his soul at rest, whatever it is his mother's necklace, which I thought was interesting. I mean, another connection to Friday the 13th, obviously Jason Voorhees is obsessed with Pamela Voorhees, and he's seen her get her head cut off, and now Johnny seems to be obsessed with his mother's necklace. Maybe he's not necessarily obsessed with his mom, but it seems like he's obsessed with this necklace. But then again, I think he's trying to destroy the necklace because that's what keeps him at rest or dead. So I'm not too sure. There's a lot of questions with this movie for me. I am going to have to give it a second watch. I still feel like I'm in the middle with it, but I'm going to have to give it another watch because it's not an easy film to process, at least for me. I think it's one of those movies where if you like it or not, it doesn't matter. I think you're going to have to watch it a few times just to see if there's things that you missed, because I feel like I may have missed some things, and that's why I want to give it a second watch. So if it ends up going on Shudder soon, I'm probably going to give it another watch. I'm probably even going to buy it, and the reason why I'm going to buy it is because it's experimental horror. It's a horror movie that we haven't necessarily seen before. Yes, the movie is very Friday the 13th inspired, but it is nothing like Friday the 13th, I don't know. There's scenes in the movie where it just kind of lingers at times. Like, you'll follow the killer in third person basically for a good chunk of the movie, or at least the first act of the movie. And there's times where the camera will just sit on certain shots, like we'll just be looking at the woods or listening to some characters talk in the background, and it's just very weird. It's shot very well. The setting is nice. The cinematography is nice, but it's just a very weird film. I think that's the word I would use to describe it. And it's not a typical slasher film. I mean, this movie had no music in it at all, which I think added to it. You just hear well, no pun intended, but you just hear nature. And I think that really fits the movie. It works for me. And Johnny was a cool killer. The look of Johnny was cool, very Jason inspired. I mean, that's really how I would explain this movie. Very, very Friday the 13th inspired. So, but I feel like it's not a bad movie. I don't feel like it's a masterpiece, but I don't feel like it's bad. I'm very in the middle with it. But one thing I am going to give this movie is the kills. The kills in this movie are great. Now, early in the film, there's a few kills that we actually don't even see. They're just off screen. But the kills that you do see in this movie are incredible and very disgusting in a good way. Not like Terrifier 2 level or anything like that, but there is some gruesome kills in this. There's one kill with a girl that's doing yoga, and if you've seen In a Violent Nature, you know what kill I'm talking about. There's a girl doing yoga, and let's just say that her kill is one of the most unique kills I've ever seen in a horror movie. So I'll give it that. And it's a movie I'm definitely going to buy just because I feel like I liked it enough that I would own it, but I'm still trying to process it. I think maybe after my second watch, I can decide if I think it's a good movie or not, but I don't think I'm going to forget about this movie. I think a few of the kills in it, especially the girl doing yoga, will stick with me. There's another kill that I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to spoil it, but the kills in this will stick with you. Let's just say that. But I'm pretty impressed with it. I don't think it's one that you have to go see in theaters. I know a lot of people liked it. I've also seen people saying that it's slow and it's not great. It's not one that you have to rush off and go see it in theaters. You can wait for it to hit Shudder or even wait for it to get a Blu-ray. But at some point, if you're a slasher fan, then In a Violent Nature is definitely one to see. I will say that. So, I don't know. I just feel like I want to talk about it more just because I just can't get the movie out of my head. So that's a good thing. The only what does that mean? The only problem I really have with it is the walking in the woods. There's way too much following the killer and walking in the woods. And at times there's not enough going on. It lingers for a little too long at times, which kind of bothered me, but other than that, I don't really have a lot of complaints. I think the story was okay. Like I said, you have the mother's necklace thing that keeps Johnny dead, even though, of course, one of the teens or whatever they are, I don't know how old they are, they never really say. I'm guessing they're teenagers. One of them takes the necklace off of the iron pipe or some sort of pipe that's in the ground and brings him back, and he comes back and he kills teenagers. I mean, it's very Friday the 13th. I know I've said that a lot, but it is. But overall, I mean, it's a fun movie. I did enjoy it. It's very different. I love experimental horror. I love when directors and writers set out to do something that we haven't seen before. So it's like, even if you don't like In a Violent Nature, I think we can all respect the director. I think his name was Chris Nash. I think we can all respect the director and writers for trying to do something different. I don't know if Chris Nash wrote the movie, but he definitely directed it, and it shot well. But I can respect him for trying to do something different for sure. But overall, I would say check out In a Violent Nature. If you're a horror fan, if you're a slasher fan, check it out. If you're a Friday the 13th fan, check it out. Even though it's very different than Friday the 13th, but also similar at the same time. It's kind of a confusing thing to explain, but just watch it and see for yourself. But overall, like I said, I enjoyed it. I would give it 3.5 out of 5 skulls for sure. And I can't wait till it goes on Shudder so I can watch it again. And I can't wait to own it because I am going to buy it. Actually, I would like to see In a Violent Nature 2, just so they can add more to the story of Johnny and give us more lore, I guess, to him. Because there's things that there's still questions that aren't answered. I mean, I have a lot of questions about the movie, but again, I've only seen it once and I'm still trying to process it. So maybe there's some things I missed, but I will definitely watch it again. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of amped up about it, honestly. So, I mean, I think it somewhat lives up to the hype. I think there is some problems with the movie, in my opinion, but I think it lives up to the hype. I don't think it's the best movie of the year, but I certainly don't think it's the worst movie of the year either. So it's going to be up there. I think it's one that a lot of people are going to remember. And yeah, I mean, especially that kill with the girl doing yoga. I mean, oh my gosh, it was such a good kill. But yeah, overall, 3.5 out of 5 skulls for In a Violent Nature. If you guys did enjoy this HBH podcast episode, I know it wasn't a long one. But I haven't made one in so long anyways that it kind of feels weird talking into a mic again. But here soon, I did want to announce this. Here soon, I want to do a live HBH podcast episode. That'll probably happen next week, maybe. But I'm going to try to do it as soon as I can. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy this, please leave a like and subscribe. That would be much appreciated. And I will see you guys soon.